I can hear you. Yeah. It is. What are you doing? Have we got the same T-shirt? Do we go to the same tailor? Do we?
Yeah. She said, "Look, put your black T-shirt on." She said.
Yeah, that's it. Well, to be fair, I've been.
Is the picture all right, Bob? Is that okay if I sit like that?
Brilliant. You're looking very sort of regal there, sitting.
My lovely lady in the background. I don't know if you can see her.
So. Oh, right. Yeah, fantastic. Oh, yeah. Yeah, TC, get out of the way. How are you?
Good, mate. Really good. Yeah, really good. Like I said, you're a little bit bored, but it's what it is, isn't it? You know, the money in the world don't change it, Rob, does it? So.
No, I mean, the bottom line is are you and yours okay? I mean, that's the question, isn't it? Because it's just desperately, it's a terrible, frightening time. There's no getting away from it.
Yeah. Well, I went to, rightly or wrongly, I went to Cheltenham. I always go to Cheltenham with Gay. And the friend.
Really, yeah. I heard you.
Yeah. And I came back on Friday, and then I reckon around about the Monday, Tuesday, I was just very lethargic. I had a bad cough, and I don't know whether I had it or not. I lost its taste for a couple of days. You know, I was eating lunch. I didn't know what I was eating. It was just you couldn't taste anything. So, but you don't know, Rob, unless you get tested. You don't know whether you've had it or not, which is probably the worst thing about it all, really, isn't it? If you could have a test and they say, "Oh yeah, you've had it, go on, crack on," then we'd all get back to normal.
Yeah. So what have you been doing then? Little jobs around the house and you're doing the loft and tidying and all that, have you?
Yeah, we go for little walks. Nothing to. I mean, to be honest with you, Rob, the day I finished playing football, which was coming up next year, is 20 years ago, and it's 20 years next year that I joined Sky. So the day I finished playing football, I said, I'm done. That's it. I don't want to do any physical exercise. Because I felt really, really tired and everything, and I don't enjoy. I didn't towards the end of my career. I didn't enjoy training because it was hard. It's hard work, Rob, and my feelings haven't changed. I joined the David Lloyd. I've got David Lloyd Club. If you could lift the phone up 100 yards in the air, you'd see David Lloyd. That's how near it is. I joined that. And I went 6 times in a year, and it's just paying £100 a month. You know, what's the point? It's like crazy. So. We had little walks. I had a little bike ride. We're only 3 miles from the seafront. We're in Southend, so I can cycle to the seafront. So you go up a hill, down a hill, up a hill to get there, and it's a nice cycle ride. So yeah, just tick over really. But I'm not a lazy person. I don't sit in the front room watching Netflix all day. I'm up and I'm acting up things, you know.
Do you ever play football? One of the greatest and most disappointing moments, bizarrely, of my own incredible football career was, I don't even remember, you invited me to play for a West Ham team, and it was sensational. You know, you guys were unbelievable. What a team it was. You know, Alvin was playing, Alan Devonshire was there on the sidelines, McAvenny was playing, just everybody. Gailey played, Alvin played, and he gave me a name, McCaffrey, on the back of the shirt, and I blooming ruptured my calves within about 10 minutes. Of course, I got no sympathy whatsoever, but it was a fantastic day. Do you ever play, or you certainly keep in touch with those lads, don't you?
Yeah, I speak to the boys all the time, Rob, but I don't play anymore like this. I don't enjoy it. I just don't enjoy it. If I ever put a kit on, funny enough, about 3 years ago, I was meant to manage, there was a charity thing at Watford, and we turned up and there was 11 players for each team, and there was me as manager, and I can't remember who, it might be Nigel Winterburn or someone was the manager of the other team. And the team turned up with 10 players, only had 10 players, and no sub. So they said, "Oh, do you want to play? Do you want to play?" I went, "Yeah, I'll play." And they went, "Okay." And I said, "I'm going in goal." So I went in goal. Like, I must have been the smallest goalie ever. Like, of course, you know, I didn't want to run around. I just stood in the penalty area, let everyone enjoy themselves, and you know, I don't. There's nothing worse than playing football and your brain's active and working, but you're playing against 18, 21-year-olds, and they're getting to the ball before you because they're quicker, not because they're better, and that's frustrating. You know?
Okay, listen. I've got to ask you, because I was. I mean, I've been away abroad, and I've seen it, which is great.
We started their interview, by the way. We started it, or what? Or was this just like?
Yeah, we started. Yeah, we're going. You know what I mean?
I want for you to say, we're off.
No, we're off.
We're off.
I've just come back from being abroad for a long time. And
Yeah,
then I read.
Didn't we? At times we had some great fun. Met you in the
Oh,
swimming pool.
we'll talk about. But you were ill, weren't you? Come on. I've been reading about you, and I actually sent you a message. What was it? Was it a brain hemorrhage? Would you call it that?
Yeah, officially it was what you would call a small brain hemorrhage, Rob. I feel very lucky because with the brain is obviously a very complicated, vital part of any human being, and
sure.
I could have had an aneurysm, I could have dropped dead, anything could have happened on that day back in July last year. But I knew I was in trouble because I was meant to be doing some filming for Sky the following morning. I'd stayed in a hotel in Isleworth, the Novo Hotel, you probably know it well. And so I'm just staying overnight, didn't do anything out of the ordinary. And around about midnight, I would say, I just started to get a real pain right in the centre of my forehead. And it just got worse and worse. Within 15, 20 minutes, I can definitely say it was the worst headache I've ever had.
Sure.
And I didn't know what to do. And then I was sick a couple of times, and the sickness was really hurting the back of my neck.
Yeah.
Feelings of pain that I've not experienced at any time in my life. So I knew it was something different. I knew I was in trouble. I went down at about 3:30 in the morning to the reception at the hotel to say, "Have you got any paracetamol?" What good that would have done, I don't know. But it was just all I'm thinking is I've got to work in the morning, so I need to be ready to work. And the guy went, "No, can't give out paracetamol." I said, "Well, where's the nearest hospital?" He said, "It's 4 miles down the road." At which point I knew I couldn't drive and I knew I couldn't walk. So I thought, I'm going to have to go back upstairs. So I went back upstairs. I had a very, very broken 2 or 3 hours sleep. I got up in the morning, tried to have a shower, had the shower, sat on the bed. Immediately I was sick again twice. So I knew I was in real trouble, and I was still thinking I want to do the filming, but I knew I wasn't right. And my wife rang and she said, "You all right?" I went, "No, I'm not all right. I've been up all night." And she said, "Well, is there anyone there?" And I said, "Well, Phil Thompson's the only one I know." And I rang Tomo, who you know well, he's a great lad, friend. I know he represents the other half of Merseyside, but at that particular time, we was friends. We are friends, but you forget any other things that might go on in the football. We was friends, and I made the call. He came to see me, and anyway, when he came in, he just said, "Wow, you look awful," and he said, "I'll get you a doctor." And I thought, well, good luck with that, Tomo, because I don't know about you, but I have to wait 2 weeks just to get an appointment down the road with my doctors. So anyway, within an hour, this doctor turned up, and I said, "Well, where are you from?" He went, "I'm from Harley Street." And I'm thinking, well, blimey, Tomo's done well here, to go down to reception and get a Harley Street doctor. And I didn't realise what happened. He'd gone down, and they said, obviously, no doctors available unless you pay for one. And Tomo said, "Well, I'll pay for it." So he paid out of his own pocket for a doctor from Harley Street to come and see me.
Wow.
I didn't know that, Rob. I just thought this doctor was on call from the hotel. I didn't know, but anyway, he was a football fan, the doctor, and he said, "Look, you need to go to hospital." I said, "Okay." He said, "No, you need to go now." And they took me to West Middlesex Hospital. They originally thought I had meningitis, but then they done tests, and then eventually they showed it to a brain surgeon, and he said, "Look, he's had a bleed on his brain," and they just went, "Right, you're now going to Charing Cross, which is the main neurological hospital in London." That was first time I've been in an ambulance. I quite enjoyed it. I had the blue lights going through the traffic.
Thought you were in a film, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then when as we all know with what's going on at the moment, the staff were unbelievable. Right from the porters up into the doctors, everyone was brilliant, and they really looked after me. I had 4 days in hospital, including my birthday I might have had last year. But the bottom line was I'd had the small bleed on the brain, and they sent me home 6 weeks complete rest, which I did. And luckily the cricket was on, the Ashes and the World Cup, and watched a bit of that last summer. And I'm sort of, I wouldn't say I'm 100% now, but I reckon I'm about 90-95% back to where I was beforehand.
Have they said you've got to do anything differently, or is there anything you shouldn't be eating, or what have they said?
They said to me, obviously don't take anything stupid, do everything in moderation, try and sort of keep ticking over fitness-wise, and just be sensible, really. And, above all else, just rest. And I think certainly over the first 3-4 months of the recovery leading up to Christmas, I was pretty lethargic in the afternoons, and, I'd go and have a sit down in the front room and watch the telly for an hour, which do normally. So it's just been a case of managing it. And, as I say, I feel like I'm getting back to where I was, and I'm just obviously all ready to go. And then, of course, we've now been hit with the coronavirus, and it's slowed me down. But in a way, it might also be a bit of a blessing, because I'm just about to go through a very busy period of the football season.
Listen, how did you do it? I've literally, this morning I got up, I was doing these stats, and they're unbelievable. I mean, obviously you go through Wikipedia and it goes league goals, but 92 in 212 in your first spell at West Ham, 72 in 184 league games, goals in league games. Obviously the big moment of your career, 14 in 24 for Selangor in Malaysia. I mean, 27 in 85 for Leicester when you were past, you were in your 30s. Even 9 in 16 when you were player manager. What is it? How did you do it?
You forgot my second spell at West Ham. I've got 23 from my second spell at West Ham. You didn't even mention that.
No, 23 and 67 at second spell at West Ham. I mean, it's just not. And sometimes in teams that were struggling as well, you'd put 14 league goals. Up until Jamie Vardy, you had the top league goals for Leicester.
Yeah, I don't know, Rob. It's really weird for me, because if you look back and you've just read out all them fantastic stats, and I'm very proud of that. But it's really weird, really bizarre, because it feels like we're talking about someone else. It's really hard to explain, because
I can understand that.
I've got my life now. I've been a TV pundit football pundit for 19 years. So it's a long time. So I've had almost 2 lives. There was Tony Cottee, the footballer, and there's been Tony Cottee, the pundit, and whatever else he does with his personal life. So it's a bit weird, but I'm very proud of the stats. The one thing I always enjoyed as a goal scorer was the stats. I think we're even more obsessed with stats now than we've ever been. So if I was playing in the modern day, I would have a lot more information about what I'm contributing to the team, assists and things. They didn't exist, stats like that. But, I don't know. I look back on my career. I had 20 years from when I started at West Ham as a 15-year-old up until when I retired as a 36-year-old. I had great times, but the one thing I loved more than anything was scoring goals. And, that's the one thing I always say, that's the one thing that I'm not going to chase in my life, because I can't ever replicate the feeling of scoring a goal. I can do pretty much everything else I want to do in life I can do, but I can't replicate that feeling of scoring at the old Upton Park or Goodison Park or Filbert Street or any of the other grounds, Anfield, Old Trafford, all those wonderful grounds I played at. I can't ever replicate that feeling. So that's the only disappointment for me. As I'm in my 50s now, and I know for the next whatever years I live, I'll never ever be able to have that feeling again that I had 306 times in my career. It was a great feeling every time.
When you broke into the team, even as a 17-year-old, what did you have that thousands and thousands of other kids didn't have? You had pace over a certain distance. You weren't a long distance sprinter. But what was it that separated you? Was it just the ability to put the ball in the net?
I think a couple of things, Rob. I think without a doubt, I was born with natural footballing ability. In terms of scoring goals, I wouldn't say the rest of the game came natural to me. Obviously heading the ball or controlling it or passing it, bringing others, the team side of things. But in terms of goal scoring, I always say the easiest thing for me was scoring goals. And people laugh. I say, no, that was the easiest thing for me. So I think I was born with a natural talent. And no reason for that. My dad was a good amateur player. We used to laugh about it. My dad played for East Ham and I played for West Ham. And everyone goes, well, I've never heard of East Ham, but obviously everyone heard of West Ham. So, but that's true. And I had no uncles, granddads, long distance relatives, no one with any football ability. So why my mum and dad managed to create me with a football ability, I don't know. So that's the first thing. I think then going forward with that ability, you then have to have a mental ability that all footballers, I think, have. Because, when I was at school and playing Sunday football, there were players much better than me. Being honest, I know that. There was either much taller than me, much stronger than me, better than me. But, where I was small, I had to use that to my advantage and try and, mentally just get through the barriers, which I did. I had to keep jumping over barriers because everyone said, "Oh, he's a good player, but he'll never make it. He's too small." And that was all they said right throughout my younger days. So I was always trying to prove them wrong. So I think mentally, you have to be strong. And then I think when you then get to the stage where you're actually at a football club, you need that one thing to happen to give you a chance. And that one thing is luck. And you can't write luck, you can't wish luck. It means someone being suspended, or someone, as in my case, Paul Goddard, who was a very good player, I'm sure you remember, he was injured.
Yeah.
And then I was given my debut as a 17-year-old by a manager, John Lyle, the great John Lyle, who believed in giving young players a chance. And, you know, everyone always said, who was your greatest manager? I always say John Lyle, because without John, nothing else would have happened in my life. Even sit here talking to you now wouldn't be happening without me playing that first game. But I only played the first game because someone got injured. So, you know, yes, it was natural ability, mental ability, and that little bit of luck at the right time.
Obviously, your most prolific was with Frank McAvenny. How important is it for a striker? I mean, it's slightly different now in the game, where you sometimes play that, you know, to the lone striker, depending who you're playing for. It can be a 3 or it can be a 1. But you and McAvenny, how much pressure did he take off you, and how did you compliment him? And is that something very, very rare, where you get someone, you go, "We've got it, mate"? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was. I mean, when Frank was brought to the club, Rob, he was. I mentioned Paul Goddard, but me and Paul Goddard were going to be the 2 strikers. And John Lyle, being the forward-thinking coach that he was, he brought Frank to play as a number 10, as an attacking midfielder. And then the first game of the season, we played at Birmingham, and luck came into it again. Paul Goddard dislocated his shoulder, and he was out for 6 months. At which point, for the next home game, John moved Frank up to play in a front 2 alongside me, and the rest, as they say, is history. And, you know, I think from an early part of our career together, me and Frank, you could see that we had chemistry. There was a chemistry there. You know, I'd make a run, he'd make a run, and we was playing together and working off each other. And I think John was a fantastic coach, and what he did, Rob, is he devised every training session basically to get the ball forward to me and Frank in the right position so we could score goals. And that particular season, you know, it worked wonders. We finished 3rd in the league, could have won the league, should have won the league. You know, we had a lot of problems with the weather and everything. Played a lot of games towards the end of the season. But, you know, me and Frank, we scored 54 goals between us that one season, just the 2 of us, which was incredible. And we only played together for just over 2 years, but in the end, we got over 100 goals between us in 2 years, which is incredible. You know, and I always say that Frank was my best strike partner. And I love playing as a front 2. And I'm pleased to say nowadays, I think it seems to be coming slightly back into fashion a little bit, which is great, because football goes in cycles, and it was all like, oh, yeah, let's play the big man up front on his own, or play a 3, like what we said, you know. And, you know, I think I could have played that role. I look at, as examples in the modern game, I know he's back to retirement. Jermaine Defoe played up front on his own, very similar size to me. Sergio Aguero does it for Man City, albeit with the Harlem Globetrotters around him. But, you know, I like to think I could have played that role, but it was easier with a strike partner, because you had someone, you was basically playing against a back 4, and there was 2 of you. And if 2 are playing against the back 4, it's a lot easier than 1 playing against the back 4. So great times, but, you know, Frank was a wonderful character, and he's still one of my best friends. I still speak to him every couple of weeks. He's up in Scotland now, which is probably a safe place for him in terms of going out in London. But he's a great lad, and we had great times together.
Is there something special at times in your career where it's almost like you don't think about it, you're just on a roll, where, I don't know, it's almost like you don't want this spell to go? I don't say superstitions, but do you know what I mean? Where it just comes naturally. You don't even think about it. You are on it, where you know the ball's got to come to you. You're gonna finish it, etc., etc. I guess that's what that 86 season or 85, 86 season was like.
Yeah, I mean, there was other seasons where I went on. I was very, I wouldn't say hot and cold, but when I was hot, and I went on a run. I'd score 5, 6, 7 games on the trot, and then on the other hand, when I was out of form, you know, I was all over the place. And
is that you? Is that, or is that the team?
A bit of both, Rob. A bit of both, because obviously I was always very heavily dependent on. Listen, I wasn't going to get the ball in the halfway line and beat four players like Messi and put it in the corner. I wasn't that type of player. I was a penalty box predator. And my argument was always, if you give me the service, I used to say to all the boys, give me the service, I score the goals. And they like that. No, you create for me, and I'll score the goals. And yeah, it was. I had a very selfish streak as a forward. And I think you have to have that. If you look at the top goal scorers, like, I'm thinking like a Jimmy Greaves or a Shearer or a Clive Allen, those real top goals, Rushy, Fowler, Owen, all had a single-mindedness.
Mohamed Salah.
Sorry?
Mohamed Salah. Mo Salah.
Yeah, exactly. They've all got that single-mindedness that when they go through on goal, they're going to shoot. They're not going to pass the ball. They're going to shoot. And, I had that. And like I say, well, when I was hot, it was hot. When I was cold, But that 86 season, bear in mind I had about 26. That was the only season, Rob, where there was two things. Me and Frank thought we was going to score in every game. And that is, mentally, that is a wonderful thing to have, that before the game kicks off, you're standing together on the halfway line and you're going to score. Listen, we didn't score in every game, but we thought we was going to score, and that's the key difference. And the other thing, just as importantly, we thought the team was going to beat whoever we played. We wasn't scared of anyone. It didn't matter whether it's Man United, Liverpool, Everton, had great teams, Liverpool, Everton back in the mid-80s, so did United, Chelsea, Spurs, good teams around. We knew on our day we could beat those teams, and that was a wonderful feeling that season. So I had the confidence that the team was going to win and the confidence he was going to score the goal. That was the only season where I had both. There was other times where I felt the team was going to win, but I wasn't playing well. And there was other times where I was scoring goals and the team weren't going to win. But that season, it all clicked for whatever reason.
You say John Lyall's the best manager you've had, but Martin O'Neill, to bring you back from Malaysia, when you're abroad, you kind of get forgotten a little bit. You're 32, I guess, when you came back to Leicester. How did that come about? What was he like for you as a person and a player?
Well, I think he was just what I needed, Martin. He was very much a motivational manager. Well, I wouldn't even call him a coach, Martin, because I saw Martin try and put on a couple of sessions, and it didn't quite work. He wasn't comfortable coaching. But what he did, he had Steve Walford, my old West Ham teammate, as the coach, and he had John Robertson as his assistant. And between the three of them, they had a system where it all worked and everything fell into place. And in terms of Martin, I think what he liked doing, he liked buying players or acquiring players that other clubs didn't want to touch. And I came into that category when I was in Malaysia, because I'd gone out to Malaysia because I thought that was the end of my career. I'll go and have a little payday. When I come back, I'll play for Orient, Southend, my local club, or whoever. I didn't care. I'll come back and play lower league football. But for him to bring me back to play in the Premier League, and I had 3 incredible years at the end of my career. I was 32, 33, 34. And that was all because of Martin. But it wasn't easy to get into his team. And if you weren't in his team, Rob, it was a bit of a nightmare, because if you was injured or not in the team, you'd walk past him in the morning, you go, "Morning, boss," and he'd walk straight past you. He wouldn't say hello.
Old school TV.
Old school, and his philosophy was, "You're no good to me. You're either injured or you're not in the team. When you get in the team, I'll say good morning to you." And of course, when you get in the team, "Morning, boss. Morning, Tony, how are you?" And it was very much motivational management. And there was others. He took Neil Lennon from Crewe, Robbie Savage from Crewe, Muzzy from Chelsea, Matt Elliott from Oxford, Frank Sinclair from Chelsea, all players that had a point to prove. And that Leicester team we had, it was a team full of internationals. I think the only one who wasn't an international was Steve Walsh. He was the captain, and a legend at Leicester. So we had a really, really good team. And Martin got together what on paper you would say was players that had been underperforming at their previous clubs, and he brought them all together. And I think we finished in the top 10 of the Premier League for 4 out of 5 seasons, and we got to 3 cup finals under Martin. I got to 2 of them. So it was an incredible spell from 95 to 2000, where when he was in charge, it was just a joy to play with him.
And which brings me on, I wasn't going to talk about it yet, but which brings me on to Jared Bowen, because I know you covered a lot of Championship, particularly for Sky Sports. And since I've been back in the country, I've seen Hull live 3 times, and I'm sitting there going, "God, this guy's good." His goal stats are unbelievable. I know it's no genius to say he's a good. But everybody's looking at him. But I'm guessing you'd think he's probably just what West Ham need. Or I think he's a sensational signing, I have to say.
Yeah, I think West Ham fans have grown up on the flair players. Well, I think of the likes of Alan Devonshire, Trevor Brooking, Di Canio, Pyatt, and Arnautovic recently, and I think they needed someone like Jarrod Bowen to come into the club who plays with. He doesn't play with any fear. He gets on the ball, he runs at players. He can go right, he can go left, he scores goals. And you're quite right. I followed his career closely. I've seen him a lot of times, and every time I've seen him, he's been the best player on the pitch. And in my opinion, he was by far the most consistent player in the Championship over the last 2 seasons. So it was just a case of when someone was going to be willing to take a chance on the players. Because the problem is that clubs in the Premier League, they look at players in the Championship and say, yeah, he's a very good player, he's a great player even. But, can he do it in the Premier League? And they always ask that question. I've always said that players can step up to the next level because when they do, if they're good enough, and it's always an if, Rob, but if they're good enough, they can step up to the next level because they raise their game and then they're also playing with better players. So they slot the system. I mean, you've only got to look at, off the top of my head, Andy Robertson, for example, that one who was at Hull, and he's gone to Liverpool. He's been one of the best left back, not just in the country, in the world. He's been unbelievable. Yeah. And then if you look at David Moyes, who's obviously the West Ham manager now, and he, in the past, he's bought likes of Leighton Baines, Phil Jagielka. These players have come from Championship teams and gone into the Premier League. Tim Cahill was another one.
John Stones as well, to be fair.
Of course, the players are there, Rob. I think with what's happened with the Premier League becoming the global brand that it is, and we all love the Premier League, it's fantastic. But I think what it's done is it's knocked down players that would have been in Premier League squads have now dropped into the Championship, which means, and you've seen a lot of it, that the Championship is a very competitive league, and it's a breeding ground for players. The players are there, and I think you just have to try and get those players before they're costing too much money. And I think West Ham paid 16 million for Jarrod. It's a lot of money. But if he goes on and scores the goals, if he keeps them in the Premier League, which I hope he does, then it'd be money well spent. But the players are there; they always have been.
Listen, last one for you. It's lovely talking to you as always. Define your relationship with West Ham. What is it? What has it changed over the years? You're always a West Ham fan. Go on, can you put into words what West Ham means to you?
Beyond my family and my personal life, it's the most important thing in my life, Rob. I'm just being honest. It always has been. I think sometimes people don't realise how passionate I am about the club, because I think sometimes they look at you as the player and they know that you played for West Ham. But what they don't always know is the fact that I was born in West Ham, and my mum and dad and my nans and granddads and my aunts and uncles and my whole family were West Ham fans, and I grew up in a West Ham area, supporting and travelling all around the country on the trains to watch West Ham play as a 13, 14-year-old. So it's really, really deep in my roots, that I'm a huge West Ham fan. I get frustrated with the club because, they haven't kicked on to where I want them to be. We was all hoping that the move to the London Stadium would help to take the club to the next level. And listen, one day it might do that, but I think the word at the moment of West Ham fans is frustration. I think a lot of the fans are frustrated because they don't want the club fighting relegation. They've been there and done that over the last 40, 50 years. That we want the club in the top 10. We want the club trying to push to get into Europe. And listen, Champions League is, that's 3, 4, 5 years down the line. Rob, you've got to get to the Europa League first. And I get frustrated because that's where I want the club. I want the club to be in the top 10, pushing like what Burnley have done, like what Wolves have done for that 7th position to try and get into the Europa League. But I honestly believe they've got the right manager in place now, David Moyes. I think he's a manager who brings stability to a football club. I love David as a person. He's a great man.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
I think that he will take the club into a period of stability where they will look to finish in 10th, 9th, 8th and 7th and improve on what they've got. They've got some good players at the club. But West Ham is, like I say, beyond my family, Rob. unfortunately, it's everything to me. And I think if you talk to most West Ham fans, but actually not most West Ham fans, I would say football fans in general, whatever your team is, whether it's Liverpool, Everton, Tottenham, Chelsea, whoever it might be, you know, we're all very, very passionate about your clubs. And yes, you love football and you love other football clubs, but my one passion in life is West Ham. That will never change.
Absolutely brilliant. Thanks for talking to us. Take care of yourself, and we'll catch up soon, TC. All the best to you.
Cheers, Rob. Good to speak to you, mate. Take care.
Cheers.